Chapter 1 I Hate You. It was 4 o'clock in the morning on May 1st, 2007. The sun has not yet risen, and the sky is like a monster with its bloody mouth open. It is so dark that it makes people breathless. This is the darkest hour before dawn. Xiaorong, when you see your brother in the future, tell him that Mommy misses him. A haggard-looking woman, with a sallow complexion and no trace of blood, said to him with her last breath of strength. The woman slowly turned her head and looked at the sky outside the window, her expression full of longing, and a teardrop fell from her eyes that were about to dry up. Mom. A teenager cried and opened his tearful eyes from the single bed filled with books, periodicals, and newspapers. It was still dark, and the room was so quiet that it was suffocating. It's this dream again. That was the last time Murong heard his mother's voice, and it became a permanent image in his mind, and it also became a nightmare that would never go away. Murong is 15 years old this year, but he does not have the youthful frivolity unique to children of this age, but has a rare sense of stability. Sure, he let out a long breath, coming back to his senses from the dream just now. Bang! There was a crisp impact sound, accompanied by Murong's straightly raised arm, and a coin was deeply embedded in the opposite wall. On that mottled wall, a photo of a handsome young man, Yi carat ben carat read carat novel, YB, was pasted on it. The young man's face was full of heroism, and he was looking at him with a smile, but the photo had already been embedded with a layer of coins. It's been 2 years, exactly 2 years since my mother passed away. Whenever Murong woke up from such a dream, he would raise his hand and punch a coin into the photo opposite to relieve the pain in his heart. I hate you. It was another half-dead and gloomy day. It was not until 10 o'clock in the morning that the sun reluctantly hung in the sky. But the impotent weather did not delay the appearance of the beautiful young woman. No, on the 5th floor of a high-end residential complex, a middle-aged woman exuding the aura of a mature woman held a high-end handbag in one hand, and the other, like a green jade finger, knocked rhythmically on the door. There was a doorbell installed in this high-end residential complex, but the woman knew that no one had ever repaired the doorbell since it was smashed 2 years ago. After knocking 3 or 4 times, no one answered. Wearing high-end business attire, she shook her head gently, sighed slightly, and elegantly took out a bunch of keys from her small bag and opened the door by herself. As soon as he entered the door, there was no one in the living room. There were scattered clothes piled on the sofa, and instant noodle bags were randomly discarded on the dining room table. Xiaorong. After the woman shouted several times, no one answered, and she said to herself, "Where did this stubborn child go?" Slowly opening the door to Murong's room, there was no one there. The only thing he encountered was the smiling photo and coins scattered everywhere. Seeing this situation, the woman shook her head again. When will the child's resentment dissipate? According to experience, 10 o'clock in the morning is the golden time for most children to sleep in. Where will this child go? Unable to find anyone, the woman put down her small bag and began to tidy up the house skillfully. Although she was wearing a brand-name professional suit, she swept, mopped the floor, and wiped the table in a decent manner. She didn't look like the delicate ladies of rich families at all. After cleaning the living room, kitchen, and 3 bedrooms, it took her almost half a day. She turned around and came to the study. When she opened a door, she saw Murong Zheng wearing a big magic sound headset and concentrating on playing a game. At this moment, 2 big words, rage, appeared on the table of the game. As these 2 words disappeared, a towering tree collapsed with a huge beam of light. Murong took off his earphones and took a long breath, as if waking up from sleep. The corners of his mouth unconsciously raised, and a shallow smile appeared on his face. This smile gave his not-so-handsome face a different kind of temperament. Turning his head, he suddenly saw the woman staring at him quietly. He couldn't help but frown. "Aunt, why are you here? Call me, and I will come to the company to find you. Don't bother coming home. You and Uncle are so busy all day long." The woman rolled her eyes at him and said angrily, "Why are you calling me? Your phone is out of service every time I call it. Where's your dad? Murom shrugged and said nonchalantly, as usual, he's drunk again. I'll drag him back in the evening. Hey, Xiaorong, Aunt hasn't talked to you for a long time. I just took the opportunity to have a good chat with you today. The woman said earnestly, Oh, I listened to everything Andy said. That sounds best. Your brother has been away from home for several years, and there's no news. Your uncle hired 4 professional detectives and searched all over the world, but still can't find him. You are the only one left in our Rong family. From now on, we will depend on you. Aunt, don't mention him in the future. I don't have a brother, Murong said lightly, which showed that he hated his brother deeply. Hey, Xiaorong, I saw you playing a game just now. I was very happy to see that you're not depressed all day long. However, don't be like your brother and leave without saying goodbye just to play some game. Aunt, of course not. Don't worry, you've said this several times. Murong said with a smile. He had nothing to do with the nagging of his uncle and aunt who always loved him. Ever since his father had become depressed for some reason and was kicked out of the Rong family, the burden of the entire family fell on his mother alone. Thanks to the help of his uncle and aunt, they had no worries about food and clothing. The woman seemed to have discovered her nagging problem and smiled slightly and said, Xiaorong, your uncle used a lot of connections to send you to the Special Forces Youth Group to study. How could you suddenly come back? That is the dream of many people in the country. Where do most of the generals in the army come from? In the future, these connections will be worth $1 million. Auntie, I'm not that material. I don't want to waste time. Murong said easily. Seeing Murong's indifferent look, the woman opened her mouth several times, but never said anything. Oh, that's all right. You study hard and finish high school. You can choose any university of your choice. Study hard and take over your uncle's and my class early so that we can retire early. Aunt, Grandpa will be unhappy, and I don't want to go into business. Murong was about to say something, but when he saw his aunt's increasingly frowning face, he immediately changed his words and said, Aunt, it's too early to say this. Don't you think I have to study hard now? I asked you to help me find Hong Kong City No. 2 Middle School, and I decided to get admitted to Tsinghua University and Peking University on my own merit. Is Aunt satisfied? Hearing Murong's words, the woman felt a little better and said, Xiaorong, you have really good vision. According to my investigation, Gangqing No. 2 Middle School is one of the best schools in the country. It is the training base of Peking University and Tsinghua University. Nearly 80% of the students every year can be admitted to key universities. When Murong heard this, he said proudly, of course, my 3 years as a Special Forces student did not learn in vain. Investigation is one of the compulsory courses. Hong Kong City No. 2 Middle School, even if they are all admitted to Tsinghua and Peking University, what does it have to do with me? My goal is her Long Yutang. Hey. Xiaorong, what are you thinking about? Seeing Murong suddenly fell into deep thought, the woman asked curiously, it's nothing. Auntie, are there any problems with my enrollment procedures? Murong hurriedly changed the subject. Of course, it's a small middle school that doesn't need me to do anything. Just ask your subordinates to do it. She took out a document from her bag and said, This is a letter of introduction. Tomorrow you just give it to the principal and report it. Haha, great. Seeing Murong jumping for joy, the woman couldn't help but feel happy. After all, studying is what children of his age should do. But how could she know that entering Gangqing No. 2 Middle School was just a small beginning of Murong's plan? It was from here that Murong began his ups and downs in the gaming career and also left behind in the Dota world the game ID that shocked Doters around the world. Inverse. Chapter 2, is it you? The 3-day May Day holiday is over. For most office workers, this holiday is simply tasteless, just like a half-covered beauty twisting her sexy, round buttocks to tease you until you are just hard on and you haven't even taken off your pants yet. But she lay charmingly in your ear and blew. It's dawn. It's time to go to work. How do you feel? S**H*I*T. But for Morong, who spent almost his entire childhood in the Special Forces, there was no such feeling at all. The sun is shining brightly today. Does it mean that Hong Kong City No. 2 Middle School is welcoming its arrival with its plump chest open? Morong walked to the gate of Gangcheng No. 2 Middle School, looked at the quaint school gate, squinted at the raging morning sun, and vaguely recalled his wonderful days in school. A group of friends ate together, bragged, played beans, and then teased a few girls to seduce the school belle. By the way, I took care of the most important thing about coming to this school. Wow, this is such a magical day. He cleaned up the havoc flowing from the corner of his mouth and rushed into the school happily. The first target is naturally the principal's office. Gangcheng No. 2 Middle School is famous, and the school is built to match its reputation. It is very big, like a huge maze, with teaching buildings, laboratory buildings, office buildings, dormitories, and buildings. Where's the principal's office? For Morong, who had only attended kindergarten and elementary school for a few years, he was dumbfounded. If he had known better, he would have asked his aunt to buy him a mobile phone. Alas. Now, suddenly, he heard a girl's voice coming from a rockery not far away. Oh no, it was crying to be precise. Which little sister had a fight with her boyfriend and was so heartbroken. Then, while I'm asking for directions, I can give you a little comfort. Maybe that little girl will abandon the secret and turn to the bright side? With a faint lewd smile hanging on the corner of his mouth, he quickly walked towards the rockery. Xiangzi, can't you just listen to me for once? I don't want to leave you. The girl's voice mixed with sobbing became stronger and stronger, and Morong-du had already roughly heard the girl's voice. Alas, it's another human tragedy of a slut falling in love with an evil man. Just as he was thinking about it, Morong had already turned around the huge rockery and saw a slender girl wearing a light blue plaid shirt and a ponytail who was talking on the phone with her back to him. Looking at the twitching shoulders, it was obvious that the girl was very sad. Hadron, when the girl wanted to say something else, the other party had already hung up the phone. Seeing the girl's lost look, Morong tiptoed to walk behind her and put his hand on the girl's shoulder. Then the girl turned around slowly, without looking at who the other person was, and cried directly on his shoulder. While crying, she said pitifully, I don't want to know who you are, and I don't want to know who you are. I just want to lend you your shoulder, okay? Most TV dramas are like this. YY is beautiful, but reality is skinny. Just as Morong Gang tiptoed behind the girl and stretched out his right hand with an APM hand speed of 500, the girl suddenly turned around for some reason. A pair of reddish eyes just happened to catch up with Morong's extremely embarrassed face, which looked like an eggplant beaten by frost, and he shouted angrily, What are you doing? I think the weather is not very good. Let's see if there are any raindrops. Hee. He quickly retracted his raised right hand and said nonsense while looking at the scorching sun. Humph, which class are you in? The girl obviously poured out her anger on Morong. I don't know which class I am in. Hee. Young brat. She glared at Morong fiercely and turned around to leave. It seemed she didn't want to waste time with Morong. Wait! Morong blurted out when he saw the girl was about to leave. Why? You still want to get beaten before leaving? The girl turned around like lightning and said coldly, Well, it's nothing. Actually, I want to ask you where the principal's office is. How offensive. I hope that my sister will not forget the villain's fault and give you some advice. Morong pretended to be pitiful. Humph. Go out of the elevator door on the 8th floor of the orange building on the left and turn right. The girl seemed too lazy to talk to Morong anymore. She glanced at Morong in disgust and hurried away. Thank you, sister. Ha! Morong took a long breath, watched the girl's back disappear from his sight, and murmured to himself, So pure, so lethal. I can compete with the ice girl. Bang, bang, bang! Twisting his little face that always had the word casual on it to make himself look more serious, Morong knocked on the door of the principal's office. Gomain! A middle-aged man's voice came from the door. Pushing open the office door, Morong slowly walked in, took a slight breath, and said loudly, Principal, student Morong is here to report. He handed over the letter of introduction given to him by his aunt with both hands. Morong, you are a very energetic young man. A middle-aged man with a slightly chubby body and half a bald head said pleasantly as he took the letter of introduction and read it. Welcome to our Gangcheng number 2 middle school. We have to work hard in the future, you know? Come and sit down, the principal said with a smile, pointing to the high-end leather sofa diagonally opposite the table. Don't worry, principal. I know that our Gangcheng number 2 middle school is the best high school in the country. I will try to live up to what is written on the outside wall of our school. Today, I consider the school my home, and tomorrow the school will be proud of me, Morong said solemnly. He was also very easy to talk about this kind of nonsense that deceives you to death without discussing it. Okay, I like students like you. If our school had students like you, I would have a lot less worry. Look, my hair is almost falling out from worry, haha, the principal said while pointing to his hairstyle surrounding the center. Hee, principal, you are so funny, he said this, but Morong whispered in his heart. Hey, are you worried? I think it's too much indulgence. Principal, which class have you arranged for me? Oh, just go and report to class 1 and class 2. The class teacher is Teacher Zhang. Class 1 and Class 2 is the best class in our school. The students in it are the best students in the province. You will definitely gain a lot. Jingle bell, bell, bell. While the two were talking, the school bell rang. Okay, I won't waste your time anymore. You can go and report to Teacher Zhang. It happens to be her class now. Yes, thank you, Principal, Morong said happily, turning around and rushing out of the principal's office. Wait, remember, strictly abide by school discipline. No fighting allowed, do you hear me? The principal said seriously, looking at Morong Yu, who rushed to the door of the office. Yes, Principal, don't worry. I will never disappoint your expectations. Go! Morong Rulin was pardoned and quickly ran towards the teaching building where the sound of reading could be heard. Oh, young master of the Rong family. I hope you don't put any more pressure on your fragile nerves. These children from wealthy families are just going to kill you. Looking at Morong's disappearing back, the principal sighed and sighed. Morong rushed out of the principal's office, followed the sound of reading, and soon found the words Grade 1 and 2 written on the wooden sign. Listening to the sound of reading coming from inside, Morong couldn't help but feel excited. This made him baffled for a while after years of training. Report. The voice came first before anyone arrived. Morong stood in front of the teacher's door and did the straightest, most formal, and what he felt was the most handsome military posture, giving everyone a good impression. Is it you? Teacher Zhang, who was half smiling, slowly turned around on the podium, and her face instantly turned cold. It turned out that she was the girl crying next to the rockery. She is actually a teacher? My day! Morong gasped inwardly. Chapter 3, The Little Prince of Dota. I'm late for the first class. I hate students who are unpunctual. I won't do it next time. Otherwise, I'll be punished by standing for a whole class. The pure and pleasant Teacher Zhang's tone and expression at this moment was anything but pure and pleasant. This must be a private revenge. Alas, why am I so unlucky to offend a teacher, a female teacher? Morong muttered in his heart, but he could only mutter. Even if he had 100 courages, he didn't dare to show it. He still wanted to have a good time here. Thank you, Teacher Zhang, he said cautiously, looking like a good and honest student. Let me give you a brief introduction first. After all, she is a teacher. Although Zhang Xiaoying's teaching career has only just started for 3 short months, her teacher's demeanor cannot be lost, and she is also the head teacher. If you don't have the same experience as this brat, there will be many opportunities to teach him a lesson in the future. Morong tremblingly came to the center of the classroom under the podium. His cautious and obscene look made Zhang Xiaoying want to flatten him even more. Hello, classmates. My name is Morong, male, 15 years old. I've been traveling to other places for many years and finally returned to Hong Kong City after a long absence. I am even more fortunate to join the first and second classes of Hong Kong City No. 2 Middle School and become one of us. I hope you can take care of me, become good friends, help each other, study hard, and make progress every day. Look at this kid's sinister look. Why do I suddenly have the urge to beat him up? A handsome, bookish boy sitting in the abdu row in the middle of the classroom quietly said to his classmate, "Yeah, you're so damn wretched. You're embarrassing our second class." The classmate also said softly, "This little brother is already in the first year of high school at the age of 15. Is he a genius who skipped a grade?" A girl with glasses smiled and murmured to the beauty with long cyan hair and a very beautiful face at the same table. That woman looked like the class star at first sight. Genius? I think it's another rich second generation who comes here to show off. It's disgusting when you look like that. The beauty frowned and said to her outspoken desk mate, "That's right. There are only two types of people in our Gangcheng No. 2 Middle School, academic tyrants and financial tyrants. I really don't understand why such a good school wants to bring these second-generation ancestors into the school to ruin the learning atmosphere." Okay, students, please stop discussing. Murom, please take the empty seat in the first row and continue the class. Zhang Xiaoying patted the desk with the blackboard eraser and said. Murom obediently sat on the empty seat in the first row. His desk mate was a little boy wearing glasses and with a strong nerdy vibe. When you first arrive, everything should be low-key, low-key, and low-key. Murom is not a fool. He still knows this principle of conducting himself in the world. I don't know how the whole morning of class passed. Anyway, Murom only remembered Zhang Xiaoying's beautiful figure in her mind, and she was still recalling that pitiful and charming appearance in her heart. Ding, ding, ding. Accompanied by the most melodious and inspiring ringtone in the world, the morning class is finally coming to an end. Watching the teacher leave the classroom immediately became excited, and everyone hurriedly rushed out to have a good time. Quiet, quiet. A tall boy with a handsome face walked up to the podium and said loudly. The class immediately fell silent, which shocked the sleepy Murom. This kid has a high prestige. The boy shook his hair, raised his chin, and squinted at Murom. Hey, newcomer, do you know who is the boss in this class? It turned out that someone was looking for trouble. When Murom heard what he said, he immediately felt like a mirror. He thought that only in society, the army and prisons could such small groups suppress the people. How could it be like this in the famous No. 2 Middle School in Hong Kong City? What's wrong with the world? But Murom still shook his head with confused eyes and pretended to be dumbfounded. It should be Teacher Zhang. Fuck, you are indeed a slut, the boy said with a look of contempt on his face. Murom was not someone who would go berserk and cause trouble after being scolded, so he shrugged indifferently and a smile appeared on his face, wanting to see how far this kid would go to make trouble. Hey, listen, we in the first and second classes of high school will never bully the newcomers. That's what the villains do. But everyone in this class is not a coward. Don't you think so? The boy is still very good at inciting the atmosphere. When he said one sentence, half of the students in the classroom immediately shouted, "Yes." The boy's face showed an even more proud expression, and he was obviously very satisfied with the effect. So we, grade 1 and 2, have a small rule that we must abide by. Otherwise, the world is cruel for children. It is necessary for you to realize the cruelty of the world in advance. This will become a lifelong lesson for you. Maybe. You will still be grateful to me in a few years. Then what? Murom still looked relaxed. Newcomers must pass an assessment to join the class. You can choose one of two levels. Do you choose civil or martial arts, boy? The boy said arrogantly. Literary fight? Fighting by force. Murom glanced at the other students in the class and saw that no one was angry at all. It seemed that no one would think that this was to make things difficult for me, but that this system really existed here. Damn it! Why do the top high schools in the country look like this? Thinking of this, Murom was curious about how to fight. How about a literary fight? What about a physical fight? Wundo. Of course, the 7 talented students in our class will each give a question in Chinese, mathematics, English, physics, chemistry, biology, and geography. If you answer 5 questions correctly, you will pass, and you will be our first and second graders. How perverted. If someone like me, who has barely been in junior high school for a few days, is asked to answer these nerd questions, he will definitely die. Just look at the perverted questions in the Chinese Idiom Conference and Chinese Dictation Conference on TV. Thinking of this, Morong blurted out. Wudo, come on. Are you going to do it alone or together? Haha. As soon as Morong finished speaking, he heard the class burst into laughter, and looks of contempt came one after another. Reckless man. Remember, kid, fights are for dealing with outsiders. Internal affairs are handled internally without using force, you know, the boy said with even more contempt. How about martial arts? It's very simple. Tonight at 6:30, Galaxy Internet Cafe, Dota Civil War, you will get 3 heads to pass. Have you ever heard of Dota? Dota. Morong scratched his head and couldn't figure out how it could be related to Dota. Never played before? Of course I've played, no problem. Morong felt relieved. With his own operation, he wouldn't be unable to capture 5 heads, right? Classmate, what you call me? Morong said to his desk mate who was lying on the table with a look of exhaustion. Li Yang? Who was that guy just now? He looked very cunning, Morong asked in a low voice. That's the most popular figure in our grade 1 and 2 classes, Sun Lei, who is nicknamed the Little Prince of Dota. Why is this game so popular in high school? That's not true. Don't you know? Dota is now popular in universities and has spread all over China. Of course, a high school is excellent as ours must keep up with the trend of the times. Speaking of Dota, Li Yang, who looked like a nerd, suddenly became interested. Hey, kid, don't sneak away at night. The boys who just passed by said a few words. These are the main players of our class in Dota. They're very strong. Every confrontation with other classes is conducted by them under the leadership of Sun Lei. Why do I feel that none of my classmates are very friendly to me? Morong was puzzled. He didn't look vicious, so why did everyone ignore me? Transfer students, those who transfer here midway, are treated like this. There are only 2 types of people who can get into Gangxing No. 2 Middle School. One is the top 100 in the province's joint entrance examination, and the other is the second generation of rich people and the second generation of officials. The joint entrance examination only happens once a year in the province. At this time, there is only one possibility, and that is the children of officials and businessmen. Who would have a good look on such a person now? If you want to be recognized here, you have to prove yourself, whether it is in studies or games. Prove yourself. Okay, buddy, accept the challenge. The Little Prince of Dota?